All right, the trade that I know you want to talk about. Vegas Golden Knights acquire Mark Stone and Tobias Lindberg from the Ottawa Senators for Oscar Lindberg, Eric Brandstrom, and a second. Dallas' second.
Dallas a second. Okay. Vegas signed Mark Stone 8 years, $9.5 million.
Yeah, immediately following
Ottawa
this
was
trade.
apparently offering him upwards of 10 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
They said no.
Yep.
And that's that sends a shockwave through your dressing room.
Yeah, this is a guy that didn't want to stay in Ottawa.
And he loves Ottawa too. I think he really likes the team. When Brady Tkachuk was drafted, he sent a text to Coach Guy Boucher saying, "I want to play with that kid." Like you don't like that's like a weird level of enthusiasm.
Yeah,
I
especially a
think
guy that's just drafted and he's
yeah,
expecting, hey, I play on the
right.
first
You're
line.
like, I
Bring
want
that
to
guy
play.
to my first line.
And it's like it's June. You don't play until September. Like like that's how excited he was about the team, and he doesn't want to come back.
Yeah.
That's
For me, immediately, then this might be. It all depends. This entire trade, as far as who wins it, depends on Eric Brandstrom. But my immediate reaction was Ottawa Senators did not come close to getting enough for Mark
no,
Stone.
no.
But especially like if he had been an expiring rental guy, this okay fine, right? But they must have known that they must have let him talk to his agent that
Yep,
Vegas was going to immediately resign him to a
yep.
big money deal for 8 years and all this. So you're not giving up a guy as a rental. You're giving up Mark Stone in the prime of
For
his
the next
career
8 years.
for the next 8 years after this.
Yeah, that's
And
guaranteed on your roster. That's not just like you're not just going to lose them. So
and
get a little bit more back.
Eric Brandstrom looks to be a really really good
Oh,
prospect.
absolutely.
He's
He is the key part of this trade.
he might be uh, maybe a top five prospect in the entire NHL. Like if you look at
Yeah,
the best players not in the NHL, this guy has to be on your top five.
yep.
Like he's so good in the AHL, in the World Juniors as like an 18-year-old. I think he played in the World Juniors, which is a little the youngest age kids,
Yep.
17, 18, don't do well
Nope.
in the World Juniors. You look at Alexis Lafreniere in Canada, did terrible this year, and he's projected to be not this year's first overall pick, but
Yeah,
next year's first overall pick. Guys like that don't do well. Eric Brandstrom is, dare I say it,
like above his
very
years.
similar to what Eric Carlson would be.
Ooh.
Puck
I
moving top winger.
compared him to Thomas Shabbat.
Yeah, like that's your first pair going.
Yeah.
That's what they're looking at: Thomas Chabot and Eric Brandstrom.
Mhm.
But I don't know who Oscar Lindberg is. I don't think he's very good. And a second.
He came from New York to Vegas, I think, in the expansion draft.
Yeah, there's a lot of Lindbergs, man. There's a lot of Lindberg going on the other way. Is either one of these Lindbergs the same Lindberg that went to Toronto for the Dion Phaneuf trade?
Tobias
That's him.
Lindbergh was drafted by Ottawa, went to Toronto in the Phaneuf trade, and then I think he went to Pittsburgh,
Yeah, he went somewhere else first, and he
and
ended
then
up back in Ottawa.
Ottawa re-signed him to an AHL contract and have traded him now to Vegas with Mark Stone.
Yeah, a lot of Lindbergs. I can't keep
Mhm.
track of all these Lindbergs. But
Also
this,
was like a middle six winger or center. Uh,
yeah, like I think the Lindbergh swap is kind of the nothing part of this trade. The meat of this trade is Eric Brandstrom in a second, and
yeah,
the fact that you did not get a first overall draft pick for Mark Stone is
yeah.
ridiculous, even as a rental.
The other like the value of other wingers, like
The Winnipeg Jets, or sorry, the New York Rangers got a first round pick for Kevin Hayes.
yeah.
So why
But
could you not get a first overall pick for Vegas
yeah.
for Ottawa? I don't
Like
know.
I know he's not a center, but Mark Stone's better than like Kevin Hayes.
And I know Dallas isn't projected to do very well. So this second round pick is somewhere in the pick 45 range.
40,
But I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's
And this is for Vegas is they're making out like gangbusters here. This is
Yeah.
amazing for Vegas. This is immediately gives you a top line right winger, and their top six now looks amazing.
Oh yeah.
I think it's if I can do this by memory, it's Marchessault, Carlson, and Stone,
Yep.
Pacioretty, uh, I forgot someone in Smith, who's their second line center. They're pretty good. Stasny, Paul Stasny.
Oh, that's the
Like
guy.
they look really good,
Yeah.
top six wise, and they were just in the Stanley Cup final. So
And you can't guess chemistry, the stuff's always,
yeah,
but I think that Mark Stone with William Karlsson will work really well.
yep,
I think he's just gonna like open up so much space for Karlsson to
yeah.
fly down the ice and
Between Stone and I think Pacioretty are gonna have decent. Their games seem to match up pretty well. From everything I've read and seen for both those players, being a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, I've seen a lot of Mark Stone and Max Pacioretty.
yeah.
So I know those players pretty well. Uh,
You know them because they piss you off, which is a
yep.
good thing
It's,
because
it's a good thing for Vegas that they have players that
yeah.
piss Leafs fans off because those players generally do well against Toronto.
Mhm.
Yeah, overwhelmingly Vegas wins this trade. Like it's not
Yeah.
even close. When you trade away a player like Mark Stone, a lot of the times you're not going to win the trade. If Eric
No.
Brandstrom turns into an all-star, then we're having a different conversation.
Does even if he does, then it's just a hockey trade.
Yeah.
Like that's Ottawa can't win this trade.
No, not right now. They
Second comes their number one center. This is all Vegas. And this is a guy, Mark Stone. If he had re-signed with Ottawa, they were going to name him captain, I think.
yeah,
And
probably.
like he's that heart and soul guy, loves the city, re-signs, big contract, give him the C, bright future for the next few years, but nope. Get to play with Oscar Lindbergh now.
And I alluded to it before when we were talking about the Brian Gibbons
Mhm.
Seeloff trade. This year's Ottawa Senators remind me a lot of I think the 2014-15 Toronto Maple Leafs when they were just selling everybody. Just
Yep.
get rid of him, get rid of this guy for picks and prospects. They're I think I heard something that with the three leading goal scorers now traded from Ottawa, I think Brady Tkachuk becomes their leading goal scorer.
Oh,
Just
fuck, I didn't think about
uh,
that.
I think you traded Stone, Dzingel, and Duchesne over the last couple
Oh,
weeks, and I'm saying
Shabbat,
like goal
Kearney,
scorers,
and White have all scored more
but like goal scorers, like
goal scorers. He is the number one goal scorer on
he's
the
the number
team.
one. I think Duchesne was number two and Dzingel was number three, if I have that.
Yep, yep. Brady Tkachuk is the lead goal scorer in the Ottawa Senators right now. Rookie
Yeah,
Brady Tkachuk,
with 14 goals,
14 goals.
but he's still got Bobby Ryan, so it's okay.
Yep, still got Bobby Ryan. You know what though? Bobby Ryan's had a decent season when he doesn't have to be relied on to play a top, six role. He's been playing third line minutes and he's been putting up over half point a game. It's like, okay, that's more than you can expect from Bobby Ryan right now. He hasn't broken his hand this season. That's give it to him.
Didn't he have like a wrist thing earlier though? I think he's done
Uh,
something to his wrist or
I think
finger or something.
he's missed like 3 or 4 games this season, but like that's just
Yeah,
yeah,
but this Ottawa Senators team, man, like reminds me a lot of when the
yeah.
Leafs' first line was the Matt Santorelli, Peter Holland, and David Clarkson style players. Brad Boyes was on that team. Sean Matthias,
Players on there
just
now.
guys at this point, and you're tanking. The problem is Ottawa doesn't have their first, so the tank is going to be useless
Yeah.
until
We'll
next
take it
year.
for next year. Oh no.
Which is why these trades are so important, and you need first round picks and prospects and all this. So I guess Eric Brandstrom's so highly rated that it negated the first.
That is the first round pick, I guess.
Yeah,
That they got. A first and a second. That's like
yeah. I don't know.
that's
We'll
tough.
see in a couple years whether this trade or we'll see this trade as any differently. Is
Yeah, when Brandstrom. I, I get that with Brady, when you have Brady Kachuk, you get Logan Brown also coming up, Mark Stone as well, even Bobby Ryan. You get a lot of like that power forward type. There's also too much of it in Ottawa. One of them maybe had to go.
Yeah, there may have been.
Add some like skill and speed and not just like these big power forwards. I don't know. Mark Stone though, that's losing way too much.
Yeah.
All
Anything else
right.
to add to this before we move on? This was the
Just
trade
a
of the day.
few, other than that, no.
All right. We'll go from the trade of the day to probably the second biggest trade of the day.
Mhm.
No one, I don't think anyone was calling this, but the Nashville Predators acquired
No.
Wayne Simmons from
No.
the Philadelphia Flyers for Ryan Hartman and a
No.
fourth. The condition on the fourth being it changes to a third if the Nashville Predators win one round
No, one round.
in this
Hmm.
series, this playoffs, which I think is almost guaranteed at this point.
Yeah,
But
that's yeah.
so it's a third. It's a Ryan Hartman and a third,
Yep.
which is nothing to give up for a guy
No.
like Wayne Simmons.
No. Yeah, I know that Wayne Simmons isn't the 30 goal scorer that he used to be, but he doesn't have to be in Nashville.
No, yeah, he's going to be a second, third line right winger.
Yeah, dependable. He's got a good experience and a lot of strength. He's gonna have fun playing in Nashville.
It's going to be Wayne Simmons and Marcus Granlund on that second line, and you're going to be
Right?
flying.
Yeah, one line.
Yeah, but I give this trade completely to Nashville. This is again the result of the arms race that has been creeping in that division. Everyone's making moves in that division to try to keep up with everyone else. This is all that Nashville can do at this point, and Nashville really needs to get to the Cup final again
Yeah.
and win a cup. Their window is going to start closing soon.
This year, next year, and I think that's it.
Yeah. After today, this becomes my pick to come out of the West. I'll say it on camera right now.
Wow.
The Nashville Predators are my pick to win the West. It's going to be a Nashville Tampa Bay Stanley Cup final.
Okay.
I mean, anything could happen. It could be a St. Louis Washington Stanley Cup final.
Yeah.
But that would be my pick. Either one of those teams needs to win soon because their windows are closing pretty fast. The only thing that makes me a little bit uneasy about Nashville is Pekka Rinne's goaltending in the playoffs has been a little bit shaky.
Fair enough. Fair. That's a decent concern.
But if he can play like anything like he's played in the regular season, and now the Nashville Predators have all this talent up front, we were talking about the Nashville Predators for a long time. Like, they have the best defense in the league, but they don't really. They're lackluster up front. They don't. They have Ryan Johansson and no one else.
Mm-hmm.
They gave up James Neal a few years ago. They had to give up someone else. But between Philip Forsberg, Wayne Simmons,
Michael Granlund. Now, maybe a little bit with Kyle Turris on the third line gives him like an easier offensive time. Maybe he scores a bit more.
Yeah, like they have some depth now up front, which is not something they didn't have before, and they're starting to look really, really complete.
What is? This goes Johansson, Granlund, Turris, Boyle.
They have Boyle too.
Brian Boyle? Yeah, they made the trade earlier.
Oh, jeez. I think Brian Boyle's been primarily playing wing this year.
Wing?
I think it'd be Nick Bonino on the fourth line.
Yeah. Oh, they're even more solid. But
he can play center, and he probably will. You have all this depth now. Like they have center depth all of a sudden.
Yep.
I think Nashville. I don't know. They're looking really, really good after today.
Yeah.
And even if you're trading for guys like Wayne Simmons, who you're probably not going to be able to resign because they're going to get $6, $7, $8 million in free agency, and he will. He'll get a James Van Riemsdyk style contract, 7x7. But
you still get him for the rest of the season. He's going to play great. I agree. I give it to Nashville. That's good for them.
Yeah, they're doing amazing. This one as a Leaf fan scares me a little. The Boston Bruins acquire Marcus Johansson from New Jersey Devils for a second and a fourth next year. Seconds this year. Anytime the Bruins do something as a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, I have to overanalyze it.
This year you're going to face them in the playoffs.
Yes, we're gonna have to. We're going to. It's almost a certainty at this point. Our division is the
And,
best division in hockey, and we're playing Boston and Tampa Bay to get out of it. Stupid.
Boston's been looking for offense. Pasternak's injured. They get a winger that can, put up a few points.
Yep, on the left side because
Yeah.
Pasternak and all these guys are playing on the right side, and they have really strong right side of the ice. Johnson will play behind who am I thinking? Marchand, and it'll be Marchand when they're healthy. It'll be Marchand, Bergeron, Pasternak, Janssen, Krejci, DeBrusk, and that's a tough top six.
Mm-hmm.
They'd retain some salary. They did retain $1.8 million, but I do believe it is an expiring contract.
It is.
For New Jersey.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, so it won't matter. They might even be able to get him re-signed. He's getting toward the end of his career or the end of his prime. So he won't be that expensive going into free agency, so the Boston Bruins may even be able to keep this guy. He's a big player. He plays a Boston Bruins style. We're not like a typical late 70s, early 70s Boston Bruins style, but a new age one. Kind of a little annoying to play against, really skilled. The New Jersey Devils acquire 2 picks.
Yeah, that's what they need to.
Yeah.
They get
a second round for Boston, a fourth round will be, mid second round-ish, mid-late second round, depending on how well the Bruins do in the playoffs. I put this one down the middle. I don't think either team really wins this trade. If you want to look at who gets the player, then Boston wins it. But for both sides, I think it's pretty safe either way.
I know that I don't think they're going to be able to re-sign him. I had Charlie McAvoy to re-sign, and they only have like $2 million in cap space. 2.5.
All right.
Carlo as well. Okay, it's not that bad. Not the worst. They might clear his contract. Who knows? It's actually iffy.
Yeah, like they could do it depending on they can move people around if they really wanted to keep him. But if not, he's a good rental.
But I think they needed him.
Yeah, and this is actually I think one of the only moves to come out of the Eastern Conference today. Most of the moves are toward the West, which I think is a direct result of Tampa Bay being as good as they are. The West is a toss-up. I don't know who's coming out of the West. I said Nashville, and tomorrow I might think it's going to be Winnipeg. But we like most teams are. The team know that the team to beat is Tampa, and because of that, they didn't make any crazy groundbreaking moves. Boston, I think, is doing it to shore up their forward depth, which is a little bit weak this year because they lost a couple guys from the playoffs last year. Rick Nash. It's essentially a direct Rick Nash replacement from the playoffs last year.
They don't have much offense, like depth. They rely a lot on the first line, and this helps them out for.
Yeah, that first line though.
I'm going to give it 50-50 right down the middle, too.
All right. Yeah, I mean, for New Jersey, you're losing a guy, but I mean...
Yeah. The right price for him.
Next trade. Pittsburgh Penguins acquire Erik Gudbranson for Tanner Pearson, which I think will be the second destination this year for Tanner Pearson, who was acquired from Pittsburgh earlier in the season from LA, I believe. For
he had 9 goals, 5 assists in 44 games.
Yeah, so this is a funny trade. This is one of those David Clarkson for Nathan Horton kind of trades.
Yeah.
The Pittsburgh Penguins know probably that Erik Gudbranson is not worth $4 million a year on a normal contract or a normal team. Tanner Pearson is also not worth almost $4 million, being the same kind of production he was. They're both not expiring. I think they both have the exact same amount of years left on their deal. And the only reason they made this trade is because Pittsburgh right now is decimated on the blue line.
Yep.
They're missing Brian Dumoulin. I don't know. B. Dumoulin. Justin Schultz is just coming back. Crystal Tang is out. Like they have no defensemen, and
Hmm.
going into the playoffs, like they don't even know if they're going to even be able to make the playoffs
Right.
with the group they have. So bringing in a guy is what they need on the back end, and flipping Tanner Pearson for Eric Branson is the best way to do that, I guess.
It was 2 years ago when they won, and they had really they were missing Latang and they were really, really lacking on D, but they made it anyway. And that doesn't happen very often in the playoffs. In the Stanley Cup Finals, you need really good D, and Pittsburgh got away with having Crosby and Malkin on fire,
Yeah,
I think.
and
And,
Kessel, I think that year just came on.
yeah, yeah, like the whole top six lines were just crazy, and that kind of overshadowed like the necessity to have good D, and like they need it this year. They're realizing, okay, that you can't just fly into the Stanley Cup Finals with two good lines, and that's it. You need D.
Yeah, absolutely. You need, like I think I said it before. Most teams use 8, 9 defensemen
Yeah,
at a
yeah.
time, at least for one game at some
Mhm.
points in the Stanley Cup playoffs because of injury and just necessity, right? So
I beat up today. Can't play 6 games, in a row, and
yeah,
extra
so
D in there.
this is a trade I don't think either team normally makes, but
No,
uh,
it's not a necessity. Both need to just clear the contract and get the extra body.
yeah, and Tanner Pearson has had some success in the past for LA
Mhm.
on a team like Vancouver with all the skill that they have. Might be and the lack of depth
Yeah.
rather than Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh does have a lot of forward depth, a lot of winger
Mhm.
depth specifically right now that they're using. Even if Tanner Pearson and Brian Rust might be the same kind of player, or not the same kind of player, but the same overall quote unquote of a player.
Mhm.
Um, he found himself down in the depth chart in Vancouver. He might be a little higher on the depth chart,
Yeah, yeah.
um, playing a little bit more minutes a night.
And
Um,
the chemistry didn't work in Pittsburgh as well. You got a bunch of these young kids in Vancouver. One of them's just gonna pick it up with Pearson and like, okay, he gets a few goals here and there and doesn't
yeah,
look the worst. I could
Vancouver's
see.
got to be careful though, because they're starting to acquire or have all these contracts. I guess they get rid of Branson now, but so they've saved a
Mhm.
little bit of money. But they're starting to have all these contracts that are almost unmovable with Louis Erickson and guys who they signed in
Yeah.
the offseason. Beagle, I think, is over there making
Mhm.
too much money. So they got to start being careful, I think, a little bit with who they're
Yeah,
signing
I
and
never
trading.
liked the Louis Erickson contract signing.
Not me either. Even when
I,
it
I never
happened at
really
the
liked
time,
Louis Erickson, to be honest.
he's a weird player. He could be really good. He has all the tools, but like he doesn't use them. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a heart thing or if he doesn't try enough or I don't know.
Well, I think he tries a lot, but I just don't think he's good enough. I think trying really hard is why he got like those few 30 goal seasons with Dallas and Boston and whatever, but like they were kind of like almost like fluky seasons, and in reality he's just kind of like a second, third line winger who's aging now and overvalued.
Yep. I'll give this trade to Pittsburgh. I want to put it down the middle, but I think it kind of is an edge to Pittsburgh because of the necessity for
Hmm.
specifically a
Hmm.
defenseman.
And they got what they needed.
Yeah, Vancouver could have gone the rest of the season not having made this trade, and it wouldn't have mattered.
Hmm.
Pittsburgh, it
Wouldn't
might
change
be
anything.
important if they make the
Yeah.
playoffs. So I'll give this trade to Pittsburgh for trying to
Uh,
do
I'll
something back
agree
there.
with that one. And also think that maybe you could get more out of Goodbranson than you've seen in the past few years.
Yeah, and he's an old school defenseman. Well, not old school, but 10 years ago, old school.
Yeah,
Big,
yeah.
move the guy out of the way in the front of the net. Not a
Hmm.
puck moving guy. But they got those guys when they're healthy. They have Letang and Schultz, and even a guy like
Get your
Dumoulin
stadium
can make
deep,
a
but
can make a zone exit pass. Eric Branson is a guy that
mhm.
they've switched for Tanner Pearson, who makes similar-ish money that will be serviceable for them if when he's healthy.
I think the similar money thing like that really helps out both teams.
Oh yeah.
It's not like a contract fuck up for one or the other.
All right.
All right,
Why won't that open?
gotta
There
click
it
on it.
is. San Jose acquire a minor leaguer for Vancouver's minor leaguer.
Now, Jonathan, was it Jonathan Dallin?
Darlene, yeah.
Dallin?
Dallin, I don't
Yeah.
know.
He was drafted by Ottawa and traded to Vancouver for Alex Burrows.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a guy I haven't heard in a while.
At the time, Dallin or Dallin was like highly regarded as a scorer, but he's kind of pulled it through in the AHL, but not really.
Yeah. And Linus Clarkson isn't even signed. It's brackets in there, signing rights, which means
Nope.
he's an unsigned minor leaguer. So
Mhm.
this is, I have no winner here. This is a mid. This is a mid trade for sure.
I'm gonna give it to San Jose because like Vancouver just kind of like lost it with this kid. They could have had it. They lost they kind of just they're losers here in this case. They
Yeah,
get
I mean
like
San Jose gets a minor league guy that could play in the NHL if they get really messed up with injuries, but
like Linus Carlson. Oh, he could. I don't know where he's gonna go one day, but Dallin, it's like okay, you could have done more. Could have traded him sooner. Could have called him up. Maybe done something. I don't know. I feel like there's a guy with potential that they just kind of lost it all on, and
yep. And
I'm
again,
gonna
we'll see how right we are with our
yeah.
assessments of these guys in a couple years.
He's unsigned Linus Carlson. Yeah, it's not a big deal trade that one.
Next trade. This is trade number 16 of the NHL Trade Deadline today, and the first and only Leaf trade, acquiring Nicholas Petan in exchange for Par Lindholm to the Winnipeg Jets.
This one's shocking.
Really?
Yeah.
How come?
I like Lindholm in Toronto. I thought he was going to stay.
See, I really didn't. I really didn't like him. He's a 28 or 9-year-old guy that we got out of Sweden.
Yep.
Who really underperformed, only scored 1 goal in, albeit a bottom 6 role. Pardon?
61 games, 1 goal.
Yeah. So you're giving up a guy who kind of is what he is right now, or what he's going to be because of his age, for Nick Petan, who is kind of trapped in the Winnipeg depth chart, but is 23 or 22 and 23 and is essentially just a younger version of Par Lindholm. Like he could be a middle 6 winger or center. I think he plays both. Par Lindholm plays both wing and center.
Yeah.
But Nick Petan can be sent down. Par Lindholm cannot be sent down.
Oh, I didn't realize he was on a waiver exempt.
Yeah, so you're getting a guy who you can send to the Marlies. I think he's a point per game in the Marlies right now, or not in the Marlies, in the AHL's Winnipeg's farm system.
He's only played 13 games with Winnipeg this season, and that's it.
Okay, well, as of last year, he was a point per game guy.
Was he injured or just a healthy scratch?
He was injured at some point.
Did he get injured in like the preseason and just not play until now? And
no, I think he's been in and out of the lineup. I think a lot.
And healthy scratch all season.
Kind of pseudo Josh Levoed with.
Why didn't they send him down then? If instead, why did they just keep him on the? I guess if they didn't. It seems like Winnipeg didn't care about him.
Yeah.
Like if he's in the lineup and he's he can clear waivers. He's waiver exempt. Why not send him down if you care about him? Give him some experience. Let him play. When he's called up, he's not playing very well in the few games he plays. But
yeah, I think this is a very Kyle Dubas move, right? With trading a guy for a younger, stats guy, you could put more potential. I like it. We also save a little bit of cap this year, which is the $550,000 that we save. But no, I like it. It's another RFA for Dubas to deal with in the summer, but
they're both on 1-year contracts, very cheap.
Yeah, very cheap. Winnipeg gets a guy that's a little bit older that might be able to crack the lineup as either a center or a winger. but I give this to Toronto, trying to be as unbiased as possible, solely for the fact that Nick Patan's current situation is essentially just a younger version of Per Lindholm or Per Lindholm.
I'm gonna give it 50-50. Uh, uh, Nick Patan has 5 goals total in his career
Mhm.
in 108 games. None this season. He's not done anything special, and I think that it's a gamble for Toronto for him. Like, yeah, they know, he's capable of playing, in the NHL, but like, so is Per Lindholm. Like they're playing, like they don't play the same role. I get that he's younger, you get more potential for the future, but if it's been working with Lindholm, yeah, he's not getting any goals, but I don't know. I see how Winnipeg has made it clear that he was expendable and tried to get rid of him, and I guess it's good for Toronto to get the younger talent, but I'm still going to go 50-50 because I don't know. I
Yeah,
just think.
the thing with Per Lindholm, the emergence of Trevor Moore, uh,
Mhm.
who was actually brought up before this trade was made, which was made Leaf fans think, oh, we're gonna have to make something because we're gonna
Yeah,
be over the roster limit.
an extra forward
Um,
somewhere.
made Per Lindholm a little bit expendable,
Mhm.
um, especially as a bottom six winger.
I guess they're both
For
like your trade you are in and out of the lineup guys.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm just gonna give it 50-50. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Both could do well. We'll see, like we'll see which one does better on their team. Like Lindholm could be a good on depth for the Winnipeg. If Winnipeg makes it to the Cup,
yeah,
even if Lindholm, he isn't like the number one center, but he's still like a part of the depth core that makes it. Same for Toronto. If Nick Patan is one of the guys that is just there, like that's then a 50-50 for now, and we'll see.
yeah. It's a pretty good hockey trade, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a great hockey trade for both teams. I think they both get what they needed. Especially, I didn't know Lindholm was, had to go.
Mm-hmm. The final Winnipeg Jets trade, I think, of the day. No, I lied. It's the
Nope.
second to last.
Yep.
No, I lied. It's the Whoa, Jesus, they made a lot of trades. Okay,
Yep.
we're not done with Winnipeg. Traded a seventh round pick to Minnesota for Matt Hendricks. This is a good trade for Winnipeg, but because I think he's been in Winnipeg before, if I
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
correctly.
Last season he played for Winnipeg.
So they must like him, either in the dressing room or as depth. He's a
Mhm.
center.
It's just an extra body for a seventh. That's
Yeah, for nothing, right? And again, what is Minnesota doing? Is Minnesota a seller, or is Minnesota? I don't know.
They weren't. He'd only played 22 games. It's not like he was like a big part of their team. And Winnipeg, yeah, if they like him, it's only a seventh. Like that's
Yeah,
they're looking at Minnesota's like, well, we don't need our seventh, eighth D, and Winnipeg's like, well, we could go for a seventh D. That's just for a seventh round pick next year.
yeah, right. It's not even this year's pick.
Yeah,
I'll give this trade to Winnipeg just because they're going all in. They
yeah,
need
that's
all of their depth in the world now.
like if you're willing to make a trade like this late in the trade deadline, there's some like thought put into it. Like they got what they wanted and knew what they needed, and I gotta give it to them for paying the literal bare minimum.
Yeah.
Like this could be the very last pick in the draft
Yep. Could be.
for a guy who could help you get to the Stanley Cup finals. And so, like you said, you're gonna need a bunch of D in the playoffs, and this is just an extra one to get banged up or something.
Yep. So you give that to Winnipeg?
Well, yep, me too.
Another depth move. Pittsburgh acquired Chris Weidman, exchange for John Sebastian Dia
And
for the Panthers.
as everybody knows, Chris Weidman was part of Ubergate in Ottawa.
Yes.
He was probably the most active in the discussions against the coaching staff.
And
He,
has since found himself all
yeah,
over the NHL.
he ruined his own career real hard with that one.
Yeah,
Real.
but might be able to do something in Pittsburgh if he's gonna reaffirm himself as an NHL guy. It's gonna be in Pittsburgh because he's gonna play, right? So
I think what ruined his career, he was a good AHLer. He is now. He's actually playing pretty decent in the AHL with Springfield for Panthers was, but he had he was a good bottom pairing kind of D offensive D prospect. Never played penalty kill with Ottawa. 13 points in 64 games, 17 points in 76 games, but in 17-18, I feel like when he started the season, like he really got his grip on the NHL. 8 points in 16 games. He was half point a game, and then he broke his shoulder or something. And that took all the confidence out of him. All of his offensive drive just kind of died. They throw him in next year. He hasn't played in a full season. He's just not getting it. And that ruined his career. And that's where it ended. It wasn't just Ubergate. It was over before that. That's just my take on him.
Yeah. I mean, he reminds me of a player that Toronto Maple Leafs had a few years ago, TJ Brennan. Really good in the minors with the Marlies. Almost a point per game, almost, it seemed.
Yeah.
Won the defensive player, AHL's best defenseman, I think, once. I think Chris Weidman's done the same a few years ago. But never really got his footing in the NHL.
Couldn't hold on to what he had, and that's
a 4A player, as you would say in baseball. A guy too good for the minors, but not quite good enough for the NHL.
For Jean-Sebastien Day,
I think.
D. Okay, he's actually pretty good in the minor leagues this year. Played for New Jersey earlier in the season. Played for 3 games in Pittsburgh.
Now, I'll give this down the middle. This is a pretty even trade.
I don't know if Pittsburgh will ever play Chris White. I think, I'm going to give it down the middle as well. It's just a depth move.
Mm-hmm. We're almost to the end of the trades here.
Did you give it down the middle?
I gave it down the middle too.
Okay, I agree.
Winnipeg acquires Alex Broadhurst for future considerations. Future considerations having a day getting traded twice in the same day.
Right. This might be the biggest trade of the day.
I can't tell you anything about Alex Broadhurst.
Okay.
I don't know who he is. All I have is his stats.
He was drafted in the 7th round, 199th overall in 2011. So he's 25.
He's barely a prospect anymore.
Yeah, he's not. He's a career AHLer.
For future considerations. This is the definition of I don't know what's happening with this trade.
A guy picked in the 7th round. He's played 2 NHL games, didn't score, but he's not going to get called up anytime soon. And what future considerations? I don't.
Yeah, this is the second big old question mark of the game of the day. I don't know. I'm going to remove my guess from either side or even in the middle. I don't know. I have no idea. Move on from this trade. Winnipeg making all the moves. Yeah, again, acquire Bogdan
Keselevich.
Keselevich? I don't know. I apologize, Bogdan, for messing up your name. 7th round pick, 2 years from now, to the Florida Panthers. Another weird, funny move by Florida, just kind of giving away bits and pieces of their AHL roster. But again, Winnipeg's just all in with depth. They know they need guys
for a D body. Well, they have another one who's been in and out of the lineup, hasn't played as much. He's a career KHLer.
Oh,
played with CSK Moscow. I think he made it. Had a pretty good run in the playoffs in 2017-18. I don't know if they won it. But yeah, gets signed by Florida for a really cheap contract, $9.25
Yeah,
entry.
this isn't a guy I don't think that'll score any goals in the NHL,
Nope.
but is a good 5'6" maybe guy, maybe a 5'6" guy in the NHL.
Another
Um,
body for Winnipeg just to get banged up and throw another one in.
yeah, to sound like a broken record, yeah, we need depth for the playoffs. That's all this is. I'll put this down the middle too.
Yeah, same.
Maybe a little leaning toward Winnipeg. I don't know.
Actually,
Or this
yeah,
way.
I give Winnipeg this one just like I did the Hendricks trade. Yeah.
Yeah, the Hendricks trade. Second to last trade of the day. Winnipeg Jets. Surprised me if you heard this before.
Wow.
Acquire some depth on defense. Nathan Beaulieu for a sixth from Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
Nathan Beaulieu is a funny player. Nathan Beaulieu is the new age NHL defenseman as he is a puck. He's saying he's a puck moving skill guy rather than a big Eric Branson type, but cannot seem to stick anywhere. I thought he was going to stick for sure in Buffalo. They need
Right?
defensemen, right?
They thought he was going to stick for sure in Buffalo.
And they end up getting rid of him. $2.4 million.
Didn't they trade to get him in the first place?
I don't know. Did he sign for as a free agent in Buffalo, or did they trade him? It's an expiring deal.
Traded to buy the Canadians to the Buffalo Sabres for a third-round pick.
Yeah, so you've lost this bad asset management a little bit. They're trading him now for a sixth. I don't know. Nathan Beaulieu is going to get more minutes than Bogdan Kiznevic and Alex Broadhurst and guys like that, but this isn't an AHL deal like the previous two trades, but this is a depth D guy. This is borderline Winnipeg with Kulikov a few years ago.
I think if they didn't give up their seventh for Hendricks, they would have for this one. They give the sixth in 2019. They're like, we're running out of bottom picks. You get disconnected there?
No, I just got my mic running out of battery. I just needed to reconnect myself. That'd be awful if we did this whole thing and my mic died. The last 2 minutes of the video. Last trade of the day. Michael Dos Santos a blue for a sixth. Yep. Almost an identical trade to the Nathan Beaulieu trade. Money and pick and player. St. Louis is on a roll. I do not want to play St. Louis if I am someone in the West.
Mm-hmm.
This is just, again, another guy for depth. And that's what most of the trade deadline is just acquiring pieces to go into the playoffs with.
Del Zotto's a guy who's shown in the past he could do more, but hasn't in the recent past shown he could do more. I think like a sixth is like a good price for him for,
Yep.
I think they could really make him work, though. Like, I think he'll fit in well with St. Louis.
I do, too. I think he'll fit in well in that group. Guys like Jay Bomeister will maybe be able to teach him a thing or two about defense in the NHL.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is all the trades that happened today. 22 NHL trades.
Actually, when did... I'm reading here. There's one that we might have missed. Did we do Thomas Yurko for future considerations? Did we cover that one?
I think it technically happened the day before, didn't it?
Oh, did that? Oh, oops. My bad.
Maybe? I don't know. It's not on Cap Friendly. Where is it? Which is where I got all my information.
TSN saying that between like the Michael Chaput, Jordan Wheel trade and the Cliff Poo for future considerations trade, Thomas Yurko was traded for future considerations to the Florida Panthers. I mean, the Florida Panthers have traded Thomas Yurko to the Carolina Hurricanes for future considerations.
Yurko is a guy that came out of Detroit a few years ago, right? Is that the same guy?
Yep. Got hasn't played in the NHL this season. He's got 10 points in 14 games within the AHL. He's a guy who had a lot of potential with Detroit. Had a few, kind of good season to start his career, but just kind of couldn't keep it and bounced around to Chicago and now to Carolina and to Florida, where they just never played him. Yeah.
What is your? I know I know my answer, but who won trade deadline this year?
Oh. Colorado Avalanche.
What?
Because you look at what Ottawa's doing. They trade away their first line. You have to be sitting there as Joe Sakic being like, well, thank God they didn't like pull something through. They're not going for a wild card spot. Like he's getting a top 3, maybe probably a top 2 pick in the draft. So
Yeah.
Colorado. And they get started.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. For me, it's Nashville Predators going all in, getting Wayne Simmons and the surprising Mikael Backlund trade.
Yeah,
kind of shores up their forward group. For me, that's. But I'm being brought to your side a little bit with this Colorado.
Yeah, that's
Colorado pick.
You're like, oh well.
Yes, Ottawa, keep trading away your good players. Yes, good.
Joe Sakic smiling every single time.
Oh my goodness. That's all the trades we have today for you, Dopemon.
In the trade too.
Pardon?
He might as well have gotten Brassard back for Duchesne as well, like for a third. Like that is.
Yeah.
Like that's even more like insult to Ottawa.
It's like if they went out and got Mike Hoffman too or something.
Yeah.
Brassard and Hoffman for a second. Oh my goodness.
And that is all the trades that happened at the trade deadline 2019 NHL.
Yep, we'll see how bad we are, how much we're off. Let us know in the comment section how ridiculous we are in our analysis of these trades.
Tell us off. Say we're stupid. Be like, oh, you forgot this.
Yeah, if we forgot anything, let us know. I think I got everything.
Yeah, please.
And if this video, I like doing this video. We should do more of these, just hockey talk videos of. We had a lot of like content today, but even doing like a 10-minute video on, something that crazy that's happening.
The NHL trade deadline, even when it's boring, there's still a lot to talk about.
Oh yeah, there's a lot to dissect.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we'll see how it goes in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Will be the next.
Do you think there are any the biggest losers of the trade deadline? You get your win.
Loser of the trade deadline. Minnesota.
Oh, you know what? I was going to say Ottawa, but I think you're right with Minnesota.
Minnesota, because what are they doing? Like, what are they trying to be?
Yeah.
Yeah. Trading away Mikael Backlund for Kevin Fiala was and then trading away, who else did they give up? Matt Hendricks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know that's just a depth guy, but like, if you really think you're gonna do well in the playoffs, which Minnesota right now is in a playoff spot, you need guys like Matt Hendricks and you just lost 2 of your 4 centers apparently. So I don't know if Minnesota's, especially with Mikko Koivu out for the rest of the year, I think, or a good portion of it.
Yeah, they don't have a center. They're in a
wild. I don't know
know
what Minnesota wants to be.
Yeah, they gave away like their, forward core. Tore it down just for nothing. And Ottawa got a first back for Duchesne, so they're sitting there with a first still. I was gonna say Ottawa was the loser, but like they still got something back.
I will put this trade up for you because the Ottawa Senators have traded away their 3 best players.
Yep,
3 best forwards.
3 best forwards are gone.
All right, you want to outro us, bud?
All right. Thank you so much for watching. With Dopemon, I'm Alexkazam. I'm sitting across the province with my friend Ryanrox. We don't always have Mons, but we will always be dope. Thanks for watching.